The day that you're 10 years old and they throw your ass into the back of a police car, you blubber like a little bitch. It was 1971, and I was like 10 years old, hanging out with my friend Jimmy Fackler, my best friend. And you know, we did guy stuff, we rode bikes, we played war, and there was a new high school being built near us, so we thought, you know, let's go play around the construction equipment. So it was great. They had like excavators and stuff, and we climbed around them, and Jimmy swore that they put the keys under the fender or on the tires, so we looked everywhere for the keys for these things because we wanted to drive them around. But, you know, we could never find them. So one week, and it was a weekend in the summer, and I don't know, in Pennsylvania, where, you know, in 1971, I'm sorry, none of us had air conditioning. So our parents basically said, it's 8 a.m., get out, do your chores, and then be back by 5 and don't be late for dinner. So, you know, Jimmy and I were kicking around the property, and there's nothing going on because it's a weekend. It's 100 degrees outside, and we see this soda machine, and we're like, wow, that'd be great if we get a soda, but we don't have any money, you know. So we take slugs we can find on the ground, we try to stick them in the machine. None of that works. And then I say, I'm gonna put my arm up in the machine and get some sodas. And Jimmy's like, yeah, that's gonna work. But I do, I get my hand up there, and there's 2 sodas like wedged. So I get them down, and we're pigs in heaven. We're sitting in the big dump truck thing, and we're drinking our sodas. It's great, you know, in 100 degrees. And we talked about that, we thought it was great. So the next day, we're out kicking around, playing war, and we go, let's go to the soda machine. So this time, we both put our hands up in the soda machine. There's nothing, you know. So Jimmy, you know, I'm trying to find out what to do. Jimmy finds a metal bar, and he's trying to pry it open. And I'm banging on the plastic things. And then next thing I know, there's this explosion, and plastic chips go flying by me. Jimmy's taking the thing and start beating the hell out of the machine. So I think this is funny, so I take a rock and hit it. Then I find one of those bars, and we start beating this thing into submission. And we're beating the crap out of this machine, right? And then suddenly Jimmy stops, and I'm looking at him like, that machine ain't gonna open itself, you know? So I'm looking at him, suddenly there's a cop behind us. And I'm looking, and I stop, and I'm like, and now I realize what we've done. I'm looking at the machine. It's like, you can't open those things, but it's dented. All the plastic's broken and everything else. And the cop's like, you boys come with me. And so we get back. He takes us to the police car, and he puts us in the back seat and slams the door. I'm crying immediately. I mean, the tears are coming down, and he's like, you boys are in a lot of trouble. And he goes, give me your names and addresses. So Jimmy next to me is giving him a name and address. All I can think of is, I'm going to jail. And I can't afford to pay for a soda machine. What is that, $100? I didn't know if my parents had $100. Well, they're gonna bury me under the jail, you know? I couldn't believe it, so I'm just like, I'm so upset, and then I think maybe I can escape. But then I look around the car, and there's no cranks for the windows or anything, and I'm just like, and now I'm sobbing, like I'm blubbering, and my tears and my snot's going in my mouth and everything, and I'm like, and he's like, son, what's your name and your address? I'm like, Bobby Bomgardner, 1145 South Green Street. And he's like, are you Bob Bomgardner's son? And I go, yeah. And he goes, well, that's very disappointing. So, and we go to the house. I don't know where Jimmy is, you know, and I remember the trooper being like a state trooper with like the band right here and the hat, you know, which I don't think that was the case. I think it was like the Andy Griffith of our town or something. But so my parents, my mom's like, well, that's it. That's the last you're hanging around with that Jimmy Fackler. He's a bad seed. His parents let him run wild, you know. And I'm like, so basically, I'm grounded for like 17 weeks. And after about, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks, I think I've tortured my parents enough that, you know, they've had it with it. They're like, okay, go ahead, you know, go do what you're gonna do, but, you know, and I was worried about paying off this machine because God knows that a quarter-week allowance, I don't know how long it would have taken me to pay that thing off. So I get through all my suspension at home where I do all the chores and everything. I haven't seen Jimmy Fackler. And I think I'm gonna celebrate. So like every American boy, I steal some money out of my mom's purse, and I'm gonna go get a Slurpee down at the Turkey Hill. So I take my spider bike again at Turkey Hill, I go in, I get a Slurpee, and I'm walking out, and here comes like Ricky Reed and Brett and stuff, and my friends, and I'm like, hey man, and they're like, hey, they're like, we heard what happened. And I was like, yeah, have you seen Jimmy? They're like, yeah, he told us what happened, you know. And I said, okay, well, you know, I said, what do you guys want to do? And they said, well, we can't hang out with you. I said, well, why not? They said, Jimmy's parents called our parents and told us what you did. I said, what I did? They said, yeah, Jimmy told us too how you banged up the machine and he got in a lot of trouble. Now I'm standing there in my spider bike and I got a black cloud over my head. And I'm like, and I'm sitting there and I look at him and I go, you know, that Jimmy cried like a little bitch when they put him in the back of that car.